Finally, we are now at the end of our top 24 heavy metal and hard rock albums of 2024 list. There were so many great albums that were released last year. Invincible, Shield by Judas Priest, Moon Healer by Job for a Cowboy, and From Zero by Linkin Park, just to name a few. But I think that the 6 albums in this video are the best of the best, la crème de la crème from last year. So without further ado, here they are. Welcome back to Metal Planet, it's your boy Max Gray. Number 6. Bewitcher is a band that originally wasn't on my radar at all, but the awesome album cover of Spellshock caught my attention last year. I eventually listened to this record and boy, I wasn't disappointed. The sound of this release is really interesting. It has elements of both speed and black metal. The instrumentals have the fast-paced, slick quality of speed metal, and they evoke the music of classic metal bands like Motorhead. On the other hand, the vocals have a raspy grain that is reminiscent of the vocals of early black metal singers like Kronos of Venom and Thomas Gabriel Fischer of Celtic Frost. In addition to have a sound that brings to mind influential metal bands from the 80s, Spellshock has a clear sounding and polished production, so you can say that the sound of the album is both old school and modern at the same time. Another thing that stands out in the new Bewitcher album is the energetic aspect of the drumming and the guitar playing. The solos are notably well executed and add a musicality to the songs. Spellshock is a great album. If you listen to it from start to finish, you'll realize that it is an action-packed, non-stop thrill ride. Number 5. Opera is a perfect example that you can be inspired by something negative and turn things around with the creation of something positive. Before the recording of this album, the frontman Francesco Paoli of Flesh God Apocalypse was involved in a near-death experience in 2021 during a mountain climbing accident. He suffered from serious injuries and was hospitalized. This situation could have ended his music career, but in the end he managed to recover and was inspired by this event to create the album Opera. Flesh God Apocalypse is a symphonic death metal band, and like the title of the record implies, this release was inspired by operatic music. So on the album you have the brutal guitars, the death growls, and the blast beats of death metal, and you also have clean singing, piano parts, and orchestral elements inspired by classical music. For the vocals, the interplay between the death growls of Francesco Paoli and the clean vocals of Veronica Bordaccini creates a cool Beauty and the Beast effect that is effective. In general, Opera is another great album. This one offers a good balance between brutality and sophistication. Number 4. Kynaenen Fever is a mysterious music project with a theme inspired by the First World War. The project was founded in 2020 by a musician named The Noise, who sings and plays all the instruments in the studio. When performing in concert with live musicians, Noise and the others cover their faces with masks to conceal their identities as a reference to the tomb of the unknown soldier. Kynaenen Fever's new album Die Urkatastrophe is a record that you won't forget easily, even after just one listen. The fact that apparently all the instruments and vocals were performed by just one person makes this release really impressive. The songs in this album are both melodic and aggressive. The chaotic nature of the songs evoke the chaos that the soldiers experienced in the trenches of the First World War. A thing that is distinct about Die Urkatastrophe is the fact that the lyrics are sung in German. It gives an authenticity to the songs, which are sung from the perspective of a German soldier, and overall, when you listen to the lyrics, you realize that the German language suits metal really well. This release is really impressive for his second album. If Kynaenen Fever continues to put out quality material like this title, it has the potential of becoming a really important band in the metal world in the future. Number 3. This album, like the remaining 2 others in this top 24, is not a record where you can just cherry pick a few songs and be satisfied. In my opinion, those albums need to be listened from start to finish to fully understand them, to get the full picture. The Last Will and Testament is a cool concept album with a story set after the First World War, in which the last will and testament of a wealthy person reveals shocking family secrets. Almost all of the names of the songs in this record consist of a section symbol and a Roman number. The lyrics are meant to represent the reading of the testament in the story. The Last Will and Testament has been really well received by critics and fans of Opeth. One thing the longtime fans of the band particularly appreciate is the fact that this release marked the return of death metal elements like death growls in Opeth's music. They have been absent since the 2008 album Watershed, so with this album the formation really gave the old school fans of the band what they wanted. As a cherry on top, The Last Will and Testament features the legendary musician Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull as a guest in many tracks, in which he either plays the flute or performs spoken word passages. The new Opeth record is an album by a band that is in full control of its musical capabilities. Number 2, Absolute Elsewhere by Blood Incantation is one, if not the metal album that was discussed the most in 2024. Last year, a lot of people reviewed this album, from underground YouTubers to big names like Anthony Fantano of The Needle Drop. All that hype and interest was justified, because this is a groundbreaking and ambitious album. Absolute Elsewhere contains only 2 compositions, The Stargate and The Message, that have a length of approximately 20 minutes each. Those 2 are each divided into 3 tracks, called tablets. With Absolute Elsewhere, the members of Blood Incantation reinvented the wheel because they blended the old school death metal and progressive song structures with some sci-fi synth sounds, creating a new sound that some people have started to call cosmic metal. The riffs in the album are tortuous, the death growls are commanding, and the synth sounds do bring something fresh to the table. If you like death metal, Absolute Elsewhere is an album that you can't afford to ignore. While listening to it, you'll have the impression of being transported on the alien planet you see on the album cover and visiting a strange yet mesmerizing world. Number 1, Beyond the Reach of the Sun by Ancients is an album that you probably didn't see in many people's top albums list for 2024, and if you saw it in a list, it was probably in the bottom ranks. It's a shame that many people slept on this release because it is a phenomenal album. Beyond the Reach of the Sun was chosen as the number 1 spot in this list because it shares many similarities with Absolute Elsewhere, like prog song structures and a contrast between harsh and clean vocals, for example. But even though the new Blood Incantation record is an amazing album, the new Ancients album excels even more on different levels, in my opinion. In Beyond the Reach of the Sun, there is a greater range between the heavier and softer passages. The heavier parts hit even harder, and the softer parts are even more mesmerizing. The new Ancients record has some incredibly rich dynamics and textures. Like Absolute Elsewhere, Beyond the Reach of the Sun has a cosmic theme. While listening to it, you'll also have the impression of traveling through space and visiting an alien planet, but the experience is even more immersive. If you close your eyes while listening to this album, you can visualize in your head the landscapes of the intriguing world you see on the album cover. Beyond the Reach of the Sun is a triumph. It's a masterpiece that I definitely recommend. So that was the Metal Planet Top 24 Heavy Metal and Hard Rock Albums of 2024 list. At the end of the day, a list like this is based on opinions, so if there is an album that doesn't appear in this list that you think should have been included, write it in the comments down below and I'll listen to it if I haven't already. Last year was a really great year for heavy music. Based on the new albums that I have listened since last January, 2025 is looking out to be another great year for heavy music, just like 2024 was. Thanks for watching this Top 24 Albums of 2024 series of videos, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers!